together before all the snowbirds fly south. So, if you can't tell, I've had a little bit of anxiety about this interview. I did have a prepared a little blurb at the beginning. I'm like, okay, by the time I get to the end, I'll be crying, and then we won't be able to finish our hour. So then I woke up this morning, and I should have just called Wendy right away this morning because she would have been up. She's my go-to person in the morning. Usually by 4:30, you can always, if you get up that early, need somebody to talk to, I'll give you Wendy's phone number. Some things just don't change. Anyway, I do have some notes I will start off with, but most of you know my background. I was at the Viking. That's how I got involved with the Historical Society. So I'm going to take a couple steps back. So it's my sister that's not with us today that's furious with me that she's not here. But it was my sister that actually brought me to Ellison Bay. And she brought me to Ellison Bay because she started at the Viking. It was her second job. Her first job was the clearing. And she moonlighted at the Viking. So one weekend I decided to come up to the Viking, and we went camping with my boyfriend, and we had a great time. And Sunday morning we're in the Viking at the coffee counter, and it was packed. And Wendy looked over at me and she said, "Hey, would you be interested in a job?" Okay, at that time I was in college. I had just bought a house in the UP, and I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I literally did. I started at the Viking. I had bought my home in Michigan, but I decided that, I wanted to see what Ellison Bay was all about. And thus, I started at the Viking with these two hoodlums. And it's been, they say that your true friends are with you at your lows, and your true friends are with you at your highs. So with these two, Dan Peterson and Wendy Smith Peterson, we've been through births, we've been through deaths, we've been through many weddings, baby showers, bridal showers, you name it. So they're not only were my employers, but they are my true friends. So, all right, we'll get to my notes. And I told Dan I put my lipstick on for him today. That's an inside joke. We had a lot of inside jokes at the Viking. Okay. So, what I'd like to do is, we're going to talk about a little bit about what I'd like to get out of Dan and Wendy is I want to get a little bit of their history from where they started and then how they got to Ellison Bay. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with Dan. And so Dan, you want to tell us where you started off in Door County. You're born and raised, but where did you start out in Door County?
In Door County, in Daily Harbor.
Yep.
Cotton Club, which is now reformed. My mother. I watched the Ellison Bay.
He still does.
I'm screwed.
So you were born and raised in Daly Harbor.
Well, not really. We were a lot for superior, okay. Through my third grade was
Stef's gotta talk
Dan
louder.
and Wendy, you both, everybody just speak louder. Like, pretend like you don't even have a microphone on. Just talk really loud.
okay.
There you go.
I don't usually speak louder. I holler.
Okay.
Feel free to holler.
Well, anyway, so I started at the other end of the county, third grade. And then we moved to the Cotton Club. And the fourth grade there. So from there on, I went to school.
So in Bailey's Harbor, what were the schools in Bailey's Harbor? Was there one school, two schools?
Like every place else, it was the school, Bailey's Harbor, and sister grade, and every place, at that time. All the way from the top of it, down to the last stop.
And did they just have like a one-room schoolhouse in Bailey's Harbor?
Well, not in Bailey's Harbor. Bailey's Harbor was 4 rooms, two rooms, 4 people.
4 grades.
Yeah. But, once the first to the third grade, there was first row, 8th row, 1 teacher.
So I know you have a little bit of restaurant history in Bailey's Harbor. You want to go over your restaurant history in Bailey's Harbor? What did your parents have?
Well, mother did do a little bit of cooking, but most of it was just with steaks or something like that. We would have a lady that comes through every once in a while. I can't remember her name, but Olga, I think. Olga, done it again. And she would come to our place and she'd go to another place and stuff like that. But, yeah, we had music, we had a dance hall. We had, I think, 17 rooms upstairs, so I even helped me get, as well as, I remember shoveling snow, and I can swear that the snow when I was growing up was that deep all the time. Right now, sure, it snows, but, yeah, years ago, yeah. Well, even before, when we were in Brussels, like I said, the first year, we walked to school. And my dad had a bar there, and the school is still there, although people are living in it now. But, yeah, two little guys walking on the main highway every day. Yeah. I don't know. People say they said that I was in school, yeah. Lots of stuff. Walk.
So when you were growing up, your parents, what did they do?
Well, my dad had a bar, and he was a bartender, of course. And my mother did cleaning upstairs and cooking and taking care of us. She had the twins there, too, and they were born at the Cotton Club. Yeah, believe that or not. Yeah, Dorothy Darby.
And how many siblings did you have in total, Dan?
Well, myself, my brother, my sister, brother.
5. In one of our conversations a couple years ago, we talked about fish boils. And in Bailey's Harbor,
We had a fish boil, yes. We would be sitting there at the place, looking across the gate, see the fish boat come in. Oh, fish boat's coming, good. We get in the car, roll around. That's my first driving. My dad's chair, Well, and yes, we did have a fish boil there. It was out the back. My brother and I helped a little bit. We were very young, but when it got a little wet or something like that, so we kept the fish boil going, And as thing happens, well, the guy has to have some oil, so we threw it. I think something got in the water. Well, that's their fault. No, we're two young boys, But we we had that fish oil, 50 cents for a meal, 50 cents. And when Mother raised it up a little bit, she got in trouble, believe it or not. But this fish oil master, he was a farmer, came out and did that for us. I don't know if other people or not were involved in it, but the customers were. And we had customers that are very famous people. I mean, back then, people, they liked something like that. So we weren't really the first fish boil. The first fish boil was I'm sure when these people came and cut all those trees down and right by Lake Michigan, well, he comes a lot of Lake Michigan fish. So.
Where did you get your fish and potatoes from back then? Do you remember?
Actually, the farmer brought the potatoes in, and the fish came from across the road, and Whittier. And some, I can't even remember the name. I'm not doing very good with names these days, I want to tell you that. But, popped up. But anyway, I don't know, there were quite a few people, and there's other fish boils around. The fish boils were with the churches, a lot of that they had in the churches, and other places. I mean, I was out on the water with the guys who were in the winter, and fish boil out there on the ice. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very simple. It's easy for me.
I asked Dan about the fish and potatoes because when we had our conversation a couple of years ago, Dan and I were talking about fish boils, and it was determined that he bought his potatoes from my husband's great-grandpa. So let's skip over to Wendy for a minute. Wendy, give us your history with growing up in Door County.
My family moved to Door County from California in about 74. In 77, I started working at Carol's Corral, which is the patio. I thought that was going to be my lifetime job. It was the best job in the whole world. And that's where I met my husband. I got married in 79. Had a couple kids. I stayed working at Kramer's for quite some time. And one Monday, Cassie called me. She was working at the Viking, and it was Dan's actual first year. And she said, "Oh my God, we don't have any help. Can you work?" And I'm like, "Well, I guess so." It was in November. And I had worked before that. So I started, and I worked 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And then that summer, the dining room manager of the Viking at that time was Linda Johnson. And she said, "Well, why don't you work full time?" And I said, "Well, I have to get at least $2.50 an hour. I'm not working for less." So there you go. Then after that, it became 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and at the end, it was 100 hours a week. So my kids were 1 and 2 when I started working at the Viking, and they're 40 to 41 right now.
Well, Linda is watching you right now.
Oh, she
so
is?
yeah, give her a shout out.
Hi, Linda. So it was a good job. That's how I started.
Okay, so then let's back up to Dan. Dan, how did you get to Ellison Bay then?
Well, I got it.
Or you could even tell us a little bit before, gradually tell us how you got to Ellison Bay,
Well,
work-wise.
yeah, I got a job at the grocery store, IGA, no, something like that. And that was right next to Al. So one day he came over and said, "You want to come and do night work with me?" And sure. So the first thing I'm over there that night, I'm sitting there with his dad, and a bag of potatoes, and we're cleaning those potatoes up so we can use them. You know, that's quite a while back now, and you didn't buy potatoes like, you had to take care of all that stuff. You know, you just don't come in a bag and it comes from the farm, really. But that's where I started with Dallas. I was 15 years old, and I didn't have a way to the place. So her name is, I don't remember what. Anyway, she gave me a ride from Gateway Harbor there, and then at nighttime my dad would come, pick up, take home. So that was quite a thing, after you think about it. And Dad worked all day selling cars at that time. We didn't have the bar anymore. And so he picked me up, took me back home every day. And shortly thereafter, well, I squealed on my driver, but she just drove too fast, or I don't know. Yeah, so I got in trouble there too. She always told me about it too. But I got in the kitchen then, and I was washing dishes in a pan, just a great big thing. You know, the kitchen was very small. The building was very small. It was an old restaurant, or not restaurant, but grocery store. But he did a lot of business in there. With the thing, now it was supper time, and he'd be sitting at the counter and typing out the menu for that night. Really, truly, I mean, things were different a long time ago. Yeah.
And not as fast paced, not like now, with
Oh, no.
2-3 hour waiting. So how many years were you at Ellison?
How many was I at? Well, let's see. Well, I was 15 when I got in there. When I was 18, I went to service. I was in service for 4 years, or 3.5 years, and then I went back with Al again. And stuff I got learned in service was not thinking at all, really. So,
25 plus years.
huh?
She asked how long. I said 25 plus years. You were there.
Oh, all right.
And so, and you were in the, was it Navy?
Air Force.
Air Force. Air Force
Yeah, the
for?
Air Force, you don't think of an airplane because I was on top of the mountain in Germany, and yeah.
Is that where you went? Were you only in Germany?
Yes. Mhm. It was a microwave radio repair, is what we did. But microwave then is line of sight, you know. They don't even have that anymore. It was tubes. Very funny.
So when you got done, you came back, worked at Al's.
Yes.
Okay, so then after Al's, how did you venture up to Ellison Bank?
Well, I had a situation with Al, and I think I'm a smart-ass mouth, you know. Al taught me a lot. He did. I mean, when I was there, I came from washing dishes to making the shower, making this, making that. You know, it just went straight up. So, to be honest, I was the only one that took care of the food there, and stuff like that. Now there are 5 people working, but now there are more people also. And during the years that there, you know, went from that small place, and the ladies next door, there was a cabin, bought that, and there was an add-on, and then you got to Norway, you could, you know, and put that, all that stuff on the roof, you know, and so, but I go through that too. Matter of fact, my job working there was not, just working in the kitchen. If something was wrong somewhere, or if the painting needed to be done on the porch, or if the windows were dirty, I had everything. For many times, long time when I was young though, and I was driving the car, I had a room upstairs, couple rooms, you know, completely. Well, one of the bedrooms, well, he slept in this chair or that, and I slept in this one. So, yeah, but he was with a friend, and, you know, he'd come home, and early in the morning, mess the bed up, so his mother didn't get upset. Anyway.
They're on TV.
Sorry, Ellen. No, but he and Eddie,
Schrader.
huh?
Eddie Schrader.
No, from, another, but,
Valentine?
Eddie Valentine?
yeah, Eddie Valentine, yeah, they were buddy.
So what they did is they prepared you for the Viking, is what they did.
It was,
They gave you your building block for the Viking. They
Yeah.
gave you all the necessary tools to be able to run a restaurant yourself. And so when did you make it to the Viking? When did you make it to Ellison Bay?
well, myself, well, I was in this house for a while, but when I got out of the service, I got married, okay, so we get married and have a baby, and we
We bought the Viking in '83. That's when you moved to Ellison Bay.
83,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, no,
Okay, that's my
83,
area.
yeah, 80.
Okay, so in 1983 you bought the Viking.
Oh,
Yes.
well, yeah. Yeah. Between that, I had other jobs, so because when I left Viking,
Else.
Wells, I had to do something. So I started selling houses, you know, with that class, and I don't know, some other things I did. But I had much food business there, so I did look around there, and I had, it was our party. Anyway, too much money and everything, yeah.
So when you started in 1983 at the Viking, how many employees did you have then? Did you acquire the same employees from the Voice?
Not really, and yes, but you get, you know, different years, different people, and that goes on. I can't remember it all. We had quite a few, but I do know that I worked every day. And that's when I first put on my beard. Well, I had a beard and it grew. I mean, when I was in the service, 5 in the morning, oh, there we are, and you didn't shave. Yeah. So the story goes that I had to shave in the morning there, and I had to shave in the afternoon for people at night.
It's pretty hairy, I guess.
Yeah, but I can't tell you how many people, but there were quite a few people, not only in the restaurant, but out in the fish oil. We were doing, I don't know, 200, maybe 300, quite a few people though every night. Now, when I got there, it was a $6 fee on it, and I raised that for $1 or $2 right away, you know.
So back then, I've always wondered, back then, you must have had more customers in the fish boil than you did in the front of the house then, right? I mean, with tour buses and even just community people, tourists.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, at one time, we might have 5 buses out there. It didn't happen often, but we had, on our best times, 170 a year buses. So that dropped off, and when the buses started going more to
Casinos.
casino, yeah.
I mean, I can remember in the early 90s when I got here, I mean, I remember 2 buses on the north side of the street, 2 buses on the other side of the street. I mean, back then you were still serving a lot of fish.
It dropped off. I don't know just when it did drop off, but there's a lot of them that were doing it for one reason. But we still, at the very end when I was just there, I would only do what 50 people, 70 people a night. And I only did that 2 nights a week, huh? 3 maybe. But it was still doing that. That was the only outdoor fish boil. However, you know, it wasn't very home and done churches, like I said. And there were other places, even the restaurant in Daly Harbor, you know, and then other places, can't remember their name, but yeah, they had Friday and a fish boil.
What year did you take the fish boil on the road? Because that was one thing that we did.
Well, I couldn't even tell you that. I don't know what people just wanted, you know, stuff. I had fish boils in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, you know.
North Dakota?
North Dakota, yeah, that was the big.
Iowa was a big one in Iowa too.
It wasn't a big fish boil, but it was big for what we did. I mean, we had our food that we cooked normally. Just the chowder alone was quite a thing. I mean, people just loved it. You know?
So, I think he's talking about when they went to North Dakota. He took the Viking on the road. What year do you think it was?
Early 90s.
Early 90s, that when I first started.
We were there 10 years.
In North Dakota.
In North Dakota,
Yeah.
in North Dakota. Yep, North Dakota. And he'd bring a crew to North Dakota to serve food in North Dakota for 10 days? 2 weeks?
No, it was actually, it was a festival that Norwegians were having. Norwegians had it, and they had quite a share of people there. I mean, they had a place that they used some food, and another place. And you hear some music, you walk down highway, that was fun. It was big, though. There was, well, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 song places where a couple thousand people would be in there every day. And then they had one special day, there was a special big wheel singer that came in and did, it was quite the place.
So let's go back to when you started at the Viking. When you came to the Viking, did you have a signature dish? Did you put your own little twist on their menu? Like, what was their menu like when you started?
No, but they had some things that they made out of a can, which I did. Yeah. So that's all I can say about that. They had a good place going there for several years. he was there, I think, 10 years, maybe 9, 10 years before the other people.
What was your favorite menu item at the Viking?
You know, there isn't a food I won't eat. Honest to goodness. I mean, when I was growing up, Mother took the plate, put it on the first, you know, on the list, yeah. Like, okay, and what's on that plate, that's what you got. So when I've done that way, I will eat anything.
I do.
I don't have, well, I like pancakes, you know, I like fish.
So what do you think was the most popular item on your menu? From when you started the Viking to the end? What was the most?
I couldn't tell you. Maybe our soups were a big thing.
Probably Swedish pancakes and morning hash.
Yep, I'd say corned beef hash. Corned beef hash was good. Anybody in here have Dan's corned beef hash? Anybody have Dan's corned beef hash recipe? I was gonna say, if you do, you want to share it? Let's go, so from the time you started the Viking to the end, it evolved. And so it wasn't just the fish boil evolving, it was also other things that evolved. Namely, the gift shop, which that evolved itself into what it was then the bar in the end. And then the Fashion Emporium. Do you want to talk a little bit, both of you, do you want to talk about those things that evolved as you expanded the Viking?
Well, the shop we had, I mean, that isn't in my thing at all. I always felt you bought strong things, okay? You sold 4, broke 2, 3 was stolen. Really, now you're going to have a liquor. You buy a bottle of booze, and you know, I mean, I would have $10,000 worth of elephants and what do they call them? That's animal. Yeah. You know how much booze you can buy for $10,000? And so we put a bar in, and it was very good. I mean, it was small. But we had some drinks, or what?
We had some good bar customers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we did.
They don't quit drinking, but but we did have some good customers.
I'm trying to think of some of the drinks that people would stop at our place. Really.
Bloody Marys.
A Bloody Mary, really and truly. You know, even at the end, waiting out here, we know this is our stop.
So when the transition from the gift shop to the bar, I was around at that point, and the deal was we all had to go. It was a break between when we closed, and we would have a small break when we closed in the winter. And all of us had to, that was what we needed to do during our break, was to experiment different Bloody Marys. So we went to different, Wendy went to places, I went to places, I went to places. My recipe kind of won.
Yeah.
It wasn't my recipe, it was somewhere
It
that
came
I had
from
visited.
a ski hill, didn't it?
It came from a ski hill, it did.
Yes, that was the best one, Iron Mountain.
Yep, that's where it came from. It was we had all done our homework, and yeah, my Bloody Mary was what is at the Viking.
It's not like you
I mean, it's
steal.
physical. No, we tweaked it.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So the Fashion Emporium, when did the Fashion Emporium come into play?
Well, I'm gonna say around 2000. The ladies were getting out of the business and it was a shared driveway, so Dad bought it. We modeled it, we had parties there. We had the Lions Club there for over 20 years. People rented it. It didn't make a lot of money, but it was very convenient for large groups. We probably would have had more large groups, but people kept using that confetti stuff, and Dan hated vacuuming it, so that was kind of the end of the confetti stuff.
He was kind of particular that way.
He was. He measured the table distances.
Yep, he measured the tables, they had to be exact. If you had a party there and the tables were off a little, he knew you moved them.
I went into the service, and when I went into the service, they had things that they liked. And for instance, well, making the bed, you know, put a point on it, so you know, you had razors and stuff, and we were going to put in an area. Now, all of that stuff that I got there, I guess I kind of brought it along with me, and I was
A pain in the ass.
I was quite anal, all right, but I like things straight, clean, you know, and neat. Amen.
15 minutes.
So I know what my favorite part of the day was at the Viking, but for both of you, what was your favorite part of the day at the Viking?
I guess when we closed.
He looked at me and I thought, is this a trick question? It was either going to go one way or the other, and I wasn't sure which direction he was going to go. But okay, at the end. End of the day.
So I enjoyed the people, I enjoyed talking to them, I like this, oh, we like this, we like this, and I don't have much to do with it, but I have people that are working there that did, you know, and made sure things were right. It wasn't neat at all. I mean, even when we had the fish boil in the back, I mean, those ladies were there, they were serving these people, you know, and I'm just a guy out there hooking it up, but they're doing things and helping them. That, they made part of that fish boil action.
Yeah, it was always part of being a team.
Oh,
Always
yeah.
part of being a team.
I think there was at least 5, 6 people that served the fish.
Wendy, what was your favorite part of the day?
In the morning, 5:30, I love the coffee guys, and I miss them terribly. But they come to my house on Friday morning, and I cook for them, and they have coffee. But I really do miss the coffee guys. And they miss the Viking.
So we all do.
Everybody misses
We're
it.
lucky though, because we get you guys to cook for us.
Yeah, I do cook for Pete Ron in the winter. So they do get corned beef hash specifically the day after St. Patrick's Day.
So my favorite part of the day was the morning too. I liked the coffee guys, but then I liked it around the time when Norply would come in. There's 2 morning shifts usually 2 morning shifts. So what community events were you two part of here in Ellison Bay? I mean, obviously the big one. What's the big one here in Ellison Bay that's no longer?
Ellison Bay Days.
Yeah.
Ellison Bay? Anything else?
My national holiday, yes.
Well,
Dan
that's
actually would
amazing.
give and do anything for anybody that asked, always.
Little League,
Yes, he did sponsor Little League. He sponsored stock cars, he sponsored the Women's Club, the Lions Club, anybody who asked for anything.
The Historical Society.
Well,
Yes.
he did help them a little bit.
How about Chris?
oh, yeah, how about Chris?
Oh,
Chris?
For how many years did?
Oh,
Chris.
Chris, oh, yeah.
Chris started when he was 16 years old.
He had
Chris was
some,
42 in December. So,
That was huge.
when he started there, he had somebody right at his side that helped him, you know, one person, yeah. And then it got on, but, as he got older.
he's still there. He's the only one they kept. The rest of us, not so much. They like Chris.
He's
a
still
good
there.
guy.
Yeah, it was something you didn't have to do, but you did it. It was.
Yeah. And actually, you could get paid to have Chris work there, but we did not. We just paid him.
That was great.
Yeah, he was a good kid.
So community events, Old Ellison Babies, Wendy's national holiday.
Yes, it is.
What do you remember from Old Ellison Bay Days when you like started at the Viking? Like what did they do for Old Ellison Bay Days here in Ellison Bay?
What was it? Well, they had everything going on. And first off, they had a run, which I was running at that time. Yeah, and they had sort of games, rope pull in the water, and kids doing this. So many different horseshoe. A lot of things they did. Of course, all the parades were a big thing.
Did it bring a lot of people to Ellison Bay back?
Oh,
When you
yes.
started?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I think that it was more for the workers. I just remember they had the tug of war. Fitzgerald always had, big worker guys had a big thing. So the guys in general all had things, and then they had the firemen came with a barrel.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so each person had a fire hose, so they had teams, and that was sponsored
That
by-
barrel was going back.
It was fun, and it was sponsored by bars. And then somebody dumped sand, and they put quarters and toys for kids. They had pie eating contests. They had huge arts and crafts at the time. I mean, it wasn't just the parade. And actually, back then, places didn't have stuff outside. Everything was in the park. So then every organization had an opportunity to Kiwanis, the American Legion, the Top of the Thumb at that time. They all had opportunities to sell stuff. And then they had music Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. They always had bands. So it was a big deal. And a lot of people worked hard to do it, but it was a lot of fun. I did not specifically work hard that weekend. I played hard.
Street dance, they had street.
They had a street dance, which was a lot of fun. Yeah. But before the street dance, they used to have a dance, and it used to be where the tennis court is. It's where they had a band, and then everybody would be in there dancing in that area. It was a lot of fun.
This was just an educational piece for me too, for the Historical Society. We have a tractor show at the end of July, and we don't have Old Ellison Bay Days here anymore. So I'm trying to.
Well, it's the only town in northern Burke County that has zero festival, and I think that's ridiculous.
Tractor
Well,
show.
no, I mean, the actual town, the Historical Society does a ton of things. But the actual town, they should, once they started the thing at Whitman House with the Ashwells, it just ruined everything. And I will stand firm on that.
And the Historical Society is trying to pick up the slack with that, trying to bring back the community involvement here in Ellison Bay.
But it needs to be done by the Top of the Thumb organization. like actual business owners. And I realized it used to be done by the men's club, which also met at Viking. Well, those guys all got old, and they didn't want to work hard, which I do not blame them. Well, you were not back then.
We were the king and queen.
The 50th year we were the king and queen.
I have a great picture of that.
Yeah, we were king and queen. You were the king.
Are you sure? I didn't really like being king and queen because you really couldn't party that much. That guy would not let you drink in his fancy car. Yeah, when you wouldn't.
One of the things I wanted to kind of end with, I mean, we're not done yet, but I wanted to end with, like, customers. I mean, the Viking to me was all about the community, and the customers that came in made up the community here. So do you have any favorite customers, or customers that stick out, or that were characters? Because those characters is what made up Ellison Day.
People liked what we made. I mean, they would be coming up from Illinois, and they would make us the first stop. And that's the truth. So, you know, they really, and not just the parents, but the kids liked it also. That was before they got those little things that the father and mother around. You know what I mean? But that's, we didn't have that stuff either. It's like when I did the service, you know, line of sight was the only thing. Now,
Wasn't an
I was going to speak as one of the customers and talk about Wendy. When I brought a group of, I think maybe 9 or 10 teachers in 4 years ago, and girl, all of us made all of our orders. She doesn't write anything down. And it goes into the kitchen, she just nods at you, and everything comes back out. And so, I mean, honestly, we were all amazed. Kudos to you, girl.
It is pretty ridiculous because I can sit here and kind of tell you what most of these people do.
I bet. Well done. Well done. Thank you.
When we were now in conversation, you know, Wendy will say, well, you know, they sat in booth 4, they'd split an order of Swedish pancakes. You know them. Yeah. But that's how you remember people by what they ordered.
Yeah, that is true.
So Wendy, do you have any favorite customers or characters? Or characters?
You know, it's kind of interesting through the years, and I'm just sitting, because Phyllis is sitting here. So we had this group, and it was a Tai Chi. Do you remember that? I don't know their names, but they came in their pajamas, and it was hysterical. And then later on, we had the whole group of old guys come and eat Eggs Benedict every single Thursday. And they'd have to sit in their own spot. And then you have some people that actually would stand there and not move until they got their spot. I do miss the customers. I mean, I see them randomly and I hear the same thing from every single person. So, I think I like being retired even though I am still working, but I do actually miss the customers a ton.
we used to
I
get.
used to come on Thursday, and
You guys ate the early bird, holy
yeah,
toast.
we do the early bird.
Right, yeah. Bye, guys.
But Dan would, I know, come early, and then he'd be at the counter eating. But he ate. I never saw the menu. So tell us what he used
Well,
to have.
Dan kind of like just a little bit of potatoes filled with vegetables, and 2 poached eggs, and rye toast, no butter, just peanut butter. And he still eats that pretty much every day.
But wasn't there like salsa or tomatoes
Yeah.
or something on top?
Just
Oh, that
vegetables.
was the vegetables.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Before sauce on it,
But
but
I
it's
thought,
vegetables.
gee, that looks so good, and it's never been.
Or if it was a kitchen mistake.
Kitchen
That's
mistake.
it then.
Yes.
Well, Well, that gave the waitresses did eat it first.
When did Dan start making the famous Dan donuts?
What's that?
When did you start making the famous Dan donuts?
Well, I don't know, it just happened. We made donuts,
He didn't usually make them. Actually, my Julio made them, so this is in the 80s. And he hated making them. So he showed me how to, which one thing you learn, never learn something you don't actually want to do. Because then you just end up doing it all the time. And then when Dan quit cooking for breakfast, then he actually took over doing the donuts.
people like those donuts, I can tell you that. The other day, I was when I worked waking up,
The Ephraim Motel has the
Anyway,
donut machine.
this guy comes up to the aisle, and his wife, he's got a chair and stuff, and he looks at me, got a donut.
That was Dad's in church the other day. That's what they wanted.
That's honest.
You should make them at the Pioneer.
That's a good thought.
So Dan, do you remember who you told me was your favorite customer?
You're my favorite customer, no. I don't have one.
Your mother.
Oh, yeah, that one, yeah.
I chatted with Dan a few years ago just about his life, and that's what he had told me was his favorite customer was his mother. Did you have a favorite employee other than Wendy?
It probably wasn't me.
Favorite customer,
No, favorite employee.
favorite employee.
Maybe it was Pete. It could have been Pete helping you out at the end. I didn't argue.
For the sake of Facebook, we're gonna bring this to the end, but I just want to end by saying that the one thing that Dan taught me was that you needed to be part of a community. And Dan never needed credit for bringing anybody soup or anybody a sandwich at their house when they were sick or when they were down and out. He never needed the credit for that. When we started with our flag at the top of the hill, he never needed the credit addressing our flag at the top of the hill. So thank you very much for the life lessons. Again, I can give you Wendy's phone number if you're up early and need somebody to talk to. I will say that Wendy has been involved, even though she hasn't been to all of our meetings and our tractor shows and our events. Wendy has been to almost every one of those meetings because on my way to every one of those meetings, on every way to those events, I'm on the phone with Wendy. So, thank you both very much.
Could I share my favorite memory of Wendy?
Yeah.
Yeah. She was serving coffee, and I don't know, maybe these people weren't her favorites. And so they asked her, what is that, the regular or decaf? And she said, what do you want it to be? I love it. I shared that with a lot of people.
Anybody else have a question or comment?
I have one. Did you build the fish oil room, or was that there when you bought the place? The room in the back?
No, it was there.
Was it there?
Yes.
Dan and Wendy, it must have been a lot of work and organization to be able to handle as many people as you did at the fish boils. How did you do it with that much food prep and that much serving and organization? It was a big job.
Well, in the 90s, when we were actually serving 300-400 people a day out there, we actually had almost 100 employees. So 10 people worked out there every night, and then there was always a couple of girls that came in and did all the prep work. So we had a lot of employees.
And it started with their office staff too, and Dan.
Yeah.
Back then, there was a secretary or Dan or
Yes.
one of us that reached out to the bus companies and booked the bus. I mean, there were a lot of tour buses that back in the 90s that came up here.
The barbecue grill by the fishbowl room, was that just used for like kids' meals, or did you do chicken on there too, or what?
No, actually, in the time that I was at the restaurant, the only thing they ever used it for was like parties. You know, like Ellison Bay Days, we'd have brat stands and they cook it out there, because the problem with that grill is the way the hood is, it's too smoky. Like you literally can't be in that area. So I actually, couple summers we did picnics out there. So they cooked hot dogs and brats on the grill. People actually ate in the yard out there on picnic tables. But at night we never did use it. It was kind of bad for the fish oil.
Anyone else? I do have. This is a bag for Dan and Wendy. It's coffee. Well, the nuts are for Dan because Dan's favorite are nuts. He eats nuts at night because he's kind of crazy. But anyway, here's some our historical society coffee that's made here at Kick Ash. That we've partnered with Kick Ash. It's a couple bags of coffee to give to the new coffee customers at your house.
Oh, I will do that. Good plan, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
He's like,